and report their sightings. So we're seeing, I think, both an increase in sightings and then an increase in the numbers of people willing to report them. And thirdly, what we're seeing, which is very different from the way things were a few years ago, we're seeing a very large increase in mainstream press reporting on it outside of, Peter Davenport's National UFO Reporting Center. If you've ever heard of that, then you can contact him. But now the press, a few years ago, there was actually a book subtitled Media Complicity in Government Cover-Up of UFO Sightings, to where it used to be major news sources would kill the story. Now you're seeing even Larry King talking about the Stevensville UFO sighting twice this year, or twice in the same month when that happened. And the Chicago O'Hare incident at the UFO reported there, that got coverage in the main paper there. And I think if what I heard was correct, that story on their website was the most accessed story ever in their website's history.
That's interesting.
So for some reason, the media is reversing their old policy. They are being willing to report on it. And really, with all the web traffic it gets, they're actually realizing it's profitable, too.
Brother Malone, I've noticed it's just, it seems like a plethora of shows dealing with ghost hunters and, haunted sightings in different places and stuff like that. It seems like every channel, the History Channel, Discovery Channel. How similar is that to the whole alien abduction thing with people dealing with spirits and hauntings and stuff like that? How does that play in? Is it still fallen angel deception?
Yeah, I think they're all very similar in nature. They're just they're a little different in the guise. They're a little different in how they go about getting people deceived. Because, the Bible, if you talk about ghosts, for example, you see all these ghost hunters stuff now. The Bible describes speaking to the dead as a sin. It's necromancy. It's in the lists of most evil types of sorcery you can do. But speaking to the dead, and now you have shows popularizing, I'm a big, brave ghost hunter. I'm going to go out and try to make contact with this ghost. Those people are being deceived into sin, which is an open door for more evil and paranormal occult harassment. And it's just as, a belief in aliens is becoming more mainstream now. I believe in ghosts and other types of phenomena is becoming more mainstream, and I think it's a purposely planned deception, and I think it's a hook to get people involved in sinful and occult behaviors, to give paranormal or fallen entities even more power and control in their life.
I'm glad you mentioned that as a hook. One thing that I've always believed is, and you mentioned it at the top of the show, opening different doorways or pathways into spiritual realms by going into certain occultic practices. Do you believe that the way modern society is now, and with the use of the internet, that now that people are becoming more spiritually open to these things, that these things such as more sightings being reported, shows where they're hunting down these entities, do you believe that is because we are more open to it as a society, or do you believe that we are getting more reports now because I guess the means of reporting these things are more accessible with the internet?
It's both, but leaning strongly towards what you said at first is that our society is actually being deceived, I think, into becoming more occultic and more New Age in nature, and therefore people, let me think how to say this right, is that people are sinning accidentally in a lot of cases, but they're sinning nonetheless. And when you commit sins, you actually do open the door to more evil or to more paranormal, more demonic attachment in your life. And now that, like, if a show like, we'll say X-Files, or if a show like Ghost Hunters or something like that gets more and more mainstream popular, more and more people are going to start dabbling in trying to contact these spirits. well, that's going to be more and more opportunity for the spirits to come in, to have their chance. So I really think the media and the acceptance of it is actually creating more and more and more paranormal activity to be followed. Or, eventually they're going to run out of demons. There's going to be too many open doors. They are of a finite number when you think about it. Given the population of the planet, there's going to be more open doors than there are entities to take advantage of them. I guess that is what they want.
Do you think that by opening these spiritual doors, that it may allow these entities to how do I say this without or the right way? That it would allow these entities to cross over, I guess, into public view, or is it something bigger spiritually that we're being prepared for by shifting the current consciousness towards supernatural and necromancy and dabbling? Do you believe that something big spiritual is coming as a result of these things?
Yeah, you would think that there's going to be a breaking point where, we use the term open door to refer to individual events. There's, in a larger spiritual perspective, just living in New Mexico, I've heard it taught often that the testing of the atomic bomb here, for example, was a way of opening doors to the occult, and there may still be open doors and wounds and stuff like that. But I think it's more a cumulative effect is what you're actually. I think what you're asking, the answer to that is that all of this stuff that people are participating in much larger numbers than they used to, at least in America. Let's not forget that this paranormal and this demon worship has been going on in India and Asia, for years. And nothing huge or earth-shattering has ever become of it. I think America and you might say much of Europe, because of their strong Christian presence, may have had a little bit of restraining, mitigating that from being a worldwide phenomena. But the more it happens in America, I think the more we're going to see of it in America. We're going to start to see stuff that's only reported on from other nations. The supernatural is just accepted as real almost everywhere but America. Here in America, we're just now really getting a handle on it. I think a long time ago, there's this one Ghostbuster I knew. He gave me the 3 stages that he most frequently witnessed in individual possession cases and haunted houses. But while we were talking, we agreed that the same was true on a societal level in regard to UFOs and aliens, or that it was becoming true. He said the 3 stages when he's dealing with just a specific haunted house are, number 1, manifestation. There's a brief corner of the eye experience that one person will have. Now, if that is not cast out right then, or if it's not dealt with from a deliverance aspect, or if the individual doesn't rebuke the paranormal in the name of Jesus because they know it's wrong, that'll lead to stage 2, which is fascination. You have a fascination on the part of the witnesses who then begin to study and promote these things just in order to prove the occurrences to other people, which then leads to, number 3, infestation. And that's where the spirits, the ghosts, the UFOs, the grays, or whatever, now they've actually secured territory through these open doors and these permissions and these attention, and, then they swarm, so to speak. More and more ghosts or more and more demons, more and more aliens start showing up right there, and at that point they're next to impossible to drive out. So I think America, we've had the manifestations, the brief little experiences. I think we are well beyond or way into the fascination stage now, exactly what you're talking about. The Ghostbusters TV shows, the paranormal experiences, the whole UFO phenomena. America has now gone in a spiritual way to be fascinated with this stuff, and it's going to lead to a much larger infestation of it and increasing in numbers. And I think everything that you've been talking about for the last 10, 20 minutes is actually hitting on that.
Yeah, I've heard George Dory often call them shadow people, and I've never heard that term before.